And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Pug Thompson. 100% and on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
The Greg Hardy thing yesterday. What went through your mind when you saw that?
Honest to God, the first thing that went through my mind is, oh no, not again. All right, and I say that I'm going to give you a story.
Okay.
All right, because I'm going to go back to August 21st of 2010. I was in Houston, Texas with Strikeforce. Mm-hmm. And to give you just a little semblance of that card, this is a card that had Tim Kennedy on it, Jacare, they were fighting each other. You had Mo Lawal against Feijão at the time, Rafael Cavalcante. Bobby Lashley was on it. Dan Cormier was on it. I mean, it had some fighters on this card, but there was an instance that occurred, and it was KJ Noons who was fighting George Gurgel. And KJ Noons pulls in this oxygen thing that he had shown me, and he had shown it to me earlier. And he said, hey, John, can I use this between rounds? And I said, absolutely not. You cannot use that. That's illegal. He goes, it's just air. It's just oxygen. I said, KJ, it's something that you're trying to get an advantage with. No, you have to breathe the air that's in the arena. And then he goes to, I guess, the Texas State Athletic Commission at the time, and they tell him, yes, you can use it. So I'm not even the referee of his fight. And all of a sudden, between rounds, I see in the corner KJ Noons using this oxygen bottle and, taking hits off of it, let's say. And I go to the commission and I go, you cannot allow that to happen. And they go, yeah, we told him he could do it. I go, you realize that you are allowing him to take something that's going to give him an advantage, right? And they go, oh, it's just oxygen. Well, then later on, King Mo does the same thing against Feijão. And in the end, the Texas State Athletic Commission took a beating over this oxygen bottle because it's unfair. And now I go to what occurs here in Boston, and a lot of it has to do with the guy who ends up doing this, because I went through my entire athletic career having asthma. Yep. It's a problem, but it's something you have to learn to deal with. Randy Couture went through his entire wrestling and fight career with asthma. Yep. And you have got to figure out how to control it. Now, it can be controlled. A lot of it is mental, but it definitely affects you in the fight. But unfortunately, too bad. You cannot, in the back, he can take that pre-fight because it's not something that is against the rules as far as a USADA or a person, or a PED violation. Mm-hmm. So in the back before the fight, before he comes out, he can take it. If you remember, Randy Couture used to put a mask on his face because in the early UFC, they used to put out this smoke that would, be filtering through to make it look, dramatic as someone entered it, and that stuff would give him asthma. So he would put a cover over his face. So when you have Greg Hardy, the problem with this entire thing is, this is unfortunate for Greg Hardy. He doesn't deserve it. He asked, can I use my inhaler? And a person, an inspector, and when you are that inspector, you're the inspector, you're the judge, you're the referee, whatever, you are an arm of the commission. You are a representative of that commission. And so he's not trying to cheat. In fact, Dan Cormier on air was saying, that's cheating. Okay? I just want to give Dan a little remembrance of like pushing down on a towel. Okay, don't sit there.
That's great.
He asked the question, can I take my inhaler? That inspector said, is it allowed? Meaning, drug-wise, he says, yes, it's USADA approved, and it is. He can take it under USADA for his asthma. It's albuterol. And Dean Thomas says, I have it in my pocket. Now, Dean should know better and say, no, you can't have that right now. But he doesn't know, especially when he's listening to a representative of the commission telling him, yeah, it's okay. They give it to Greg. He takes 1 or 2 puffs on it. He goes back out in the fight, and that is an advantage that he can't have. Part of, fighting is you got to deal with it. It's they give you water. They don't give you, certain things. And this goes back into boxing long ago. You can remember Panama Lewis, Aaron Pryor fought against Alexis Arguello and was getting beat. And Panama Lewis brings a bottle. He says, give me the special bottle. And they figured out it was actually cocaine. And he actually pours that and has him drink that little concoction.
Wow.
And this is when the whole thing of, only water, no Gatorade even and stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel bad for Greg Hardy. I really do, because, he got a win, even though, it wasn't impressive the way he wanted it to be. But the question is, how would he have performed after being told, no, you can't take it? And now going into that, he lost that last round, no doubt. So would it have been a different round? Would the fight have been different if he hadn't been able to take in that albuterol? Because that albuterol, no matter what, it's a stimulant. I take it, and it will it'll open up your lungs, and you can perform better.
So my question, what's the difference between taking it during the fight? Because I have sports-induced asthma as well. And so I would take it about 20 minutes before I would walk out. And it's approved by the commission,
yes.
the doctor,
Everything. It's not cheating.
Yeah, it's not cheating. Okay. Yeah, I just want to know what, because I never knew that. I knew that I never wanted my corner to whip it out in the corner and be like, yeah, let me get some. I always felt like right before the fight was plenty. It wasn't that severe, but I did realize I couldn't get deep breaths.
Yep.
When I was fighting in some fights. But I obviously through the fight just worked through it. But in the back, even when I was hitting mitts and warming up, I don't know if it was just like the excitement of the fight, whatever it was. But like you said, some of it is mental. A lot, it could be mental. Where I just felt like I needed to make sure that I had. And mine was clenbuterol. Clenbuterol versus.
Yeah. No, yours was not clenbuterol.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know.
Is it albuterol?
Albuterol is the actual. So it doesn't matter if it's Ventolin or Preventil or all these different types of brands. It's albuterol is the ingredient.
Okay.
It used to be, you used to get it Primatine Mist. You could get over the counter.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. I feel bad for Greg Hardy because he didn't do anything in trying to cheat.
Yeah.
He asked a question, can I do this? Someone that is part of that commission, that's a representative, tells him yes, and then he does it. And right away, Dan came out and says, I don't think you do it. They got Mark Ratner on the air. Mark Ratner says, no, that is illegal. You cannot do that. And that was good that he said it because you can't. But, I mean, it's one of those shame on the Massachusetts Athletic Commission, because if you don't have your people trained to know the right thing, I tell guys all the time, whenever I'm training people, I said, look, this is as simple as it gets. If you don't know the answer, say, I don't know. Don't fake it. Don't sit there and give a bullshit answer that you're not sure is right or wrong. If you don't know, say, I don't know, and go find out. There's someone that will know. And this guy, whatever, as the inspector, he just cost that guy a win on his record based upon bad information.
Yeah, question is, does he get paid his win money?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know if he ends up in the end gets it, because now he doesn't get a win, and it's really funny that they're coming out saying that it's been overturned to a no contest. Mm-hmm. No athletic commission after the fight has been over and then announced, and he was announced the winner. I mean, many times you're going to have a fight announced. This fight is a no contest. Boom, based upon whatever it is. But he was announced the winner, and so normally it takes an actual meeting of that athletic commission to overturn that decision. And they're saying already that, no, it's been overturned. It's like, wow, you guys are trying to get rid of this fast because you screwed the pooch. Just saying it like it is.
Yeah. I do remember the Strikeforce scenario where they were taking hits off of the little spray can oxygen tanks. I do remember that. And then You are right. They got murdered. The Texas, that was in Austin, I believe, right?
Was it in Austin or Houston? I was thinking it was Houston.
Maybe it was Houston.
I think it was Houston.
I was actually there at that event. Yeah, they got murdered all over social media. They got
they
got murdered in the media and everything.
They should have.
Yeah, they got destroyed.
They should have. It was absolutely, and and I'm not saying I'm the guy that knows it all, but I told him, no, you can't have that happen. And it's okay. And then after they got beat up, they're like, oh, we're never going to let that happen again. It's like, man.
And I do
know
recall,
your sport.
I do recall the water bottle scenario with the boxer as well, where he said, no, he tried, his corner tried to give him one water bottle. He pushed that one aside. He goes, no, give me the other one.
Yep, give me the special one.
He's giving that one. So then he gave him that one.
Well, Panama Lewis, that's the guy. Go back to a story of there was a fight in New York, Louis Resto against Billy Collins, where Louis Resto had his gloves altered by his corner. That's Panama Lewis, the same guy that gave that little concoction to Aaron Pryor.
Wow.
That's a dirty dog.
Wow. That's crazy, man. It's crazy to think that way. I do not feel sorry for Greg Hardy.
Of course you don't.
That should be no.
Why?
There should be no surprise to you.
Okay, what did he do wrong?
He didn't do anything wrong. I just don't feel sorry.
Then why don't you feel sorry for him?
I actually, I just don't. I reserve the right. I reserve the right
to have no compassion for anyone.
To say that for some reason, I'm not on the Greg Hardy bandwagon, and I'm going to keep it to myself. But I do understand that he asked. He got the wrong answer.
He didn't try to cheat.
I'm not saying he tried to cheat. I just don't have any compassion for the young man. Okay, and I'm okay with that. And I'm going to go ahead and probably take a couple.
Well, I'm glad you're okay with that. I just look. I'm not. This has nothing to do with him as a person or anything like that. I look at it as, did that man try to cheat? No,
he didn't.
He didn't try to cheat. No. He tried to find something out. He was given information. He benefited from that information, so he took that, inhaler. But he didn't try to cheat.
Did DC try to cheat when he pushed down the towel?
Fuck yes.
DC's gonna crucify me for this little comment.
He did, brother.
Oh, that was hilarious.
Hold it. It all comes back to the same thing I tell everyone. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Oh man.
All right. I understand why I did it. It was, I can tell you the New York State Athletic Commission afterwards. I did that fight, and they came to me and said, "Do you think he cheated?" I said, "No, I don't think he cheated. I know he cheated." And I explained everything to them, and I said, "This is what you need to do," and they have fixed. That will never happen when someone tries it again. But hey, good for Dan. He got away with it.
Got it. Okay, so I wanted to bring up. Did you want to talk about any of the fights from the fights yesterday? Did you want to talk?
I would like to. I want to know your opinion on. I've known Dominick Reyes since he was an amateur in California, and he was champion of. There was a promotion that was done in California, great promotion, as amateurs. It was called U of MMA. Guy named Turi Altavia, who used to work for Pride. He was one of the founders of it, along with a guy named Jay Tan. They just put on this great show that was in the Nokia Club, not the Nokia Theater, the Nokia Club down in right at the Staples Center, and was just a great promotion. Did a great job. And Dominick Reyes first came there, started fighting, became their champion, and I was like, damn, this kid is good. He's athletic. He is fast. He's long. He's got the build that we talk about, man. That's the build to have. And he always had these devastating kicks. Even in the amateurs, it was like, oh, my God, that guy can kick. And so going into, his career, it's very nice to see him doing so well. And, he's remained undefeated throughout his career. And I thought Chris was going to have a hard time with him. I really did. I thought if Chris, could get him down and keep him down, Chris had a good chance of wearing him out and beating him in that 5-round fight that way. But I thought, if Chris is standing on his feet for, I said over a round, he's going to have a problem. And it happened fast. That was a beautiful left hand that he hit him on the button with. And then he put him out twice with the hammer fist. He woke him up with another one, put him out. And just a beautiful performance by Dominick. And you got to give him credit, and you got to say, hey, he might be the guy that can give John problems because, right away, the first guy that gave John problems was someone who was tall in Alexander Gustafsson and, caused him to have to change what he was doing. And Dominick Reyes does things differently than what Alex does. He approaches the fight differently, and I honestly believe that he's more athletic than Alex. And
for sure.
I think it's going to be a very good matchup if they put it together.
Yeah, I think the new generation of guys, DC had touched on this a little bit last night as well. The new generation of guys are taller, longer, more athletic. We're seeing more of the guys that couldn't make it in the pros, like Dominick Reyes had said. I guess he had imagined himself playing in the NFL, and it didn't make it.
He's a damn defensive back, if you can believe that.
You know what I mean? And so that's what we're getting. We're getting. So he was a defensive back. That means that he was pretty athletic to be a defensive
he was
back.
right at that level.
You know what I mean? If you're at that level,
went to college, captain of his team,
and that size, that's impressive. I mean, very impressive. Look, he's southpaw. That poses a little bit of a threat. Changes the way the dynamic of how guys approach John Jones. John Jones having to fight someone who's a southpaw versus someone who's conventional. DC's conventional. Other guys that he's fought have mainly been conventional. I've always felt the guys that will give him the hardest time are the guys that are Alex, are long, rangy. Because when he fought Alex the first time, even when he fought him the second time, it took him a second to get used to the range. Because what happens is John's used to just dipping his head back and being out of range, or just pushing his hand on your forehead, like like a bigger brother does to a kid. Okay, now you can't hit me and I can hit you. Well, you can't do that with Dominick Reyes.
No.
And you can't do that he couldn't do that with Alex Gustafsson. He couldn't do that with him either. And so that's why he had such a hard time with him. But I also feel that towards the end, when Alex lost to him the second time, Alex wasn't as busy as he was the first time they fought. He wasn't as good as he was the first time they fought.
He also wasn't trying to be the complete MMA fighter. He was trying to box with John Moore. And you're trying to box against a guy that's more of a kickboxer in his stand-up style. And if you can't dictate that range, you're going to be in trouble. You've got to be able to get inside of that kickboxing range and all those kicks that he likes to throw. And that was a big difference in that fight.
But let's not also forget, though, in the first fight, Alex was taking John Jones down.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Complete MMA fighter, making it to where he had to deal with more elements.
Yep. So I think Dominick Reyes has that in him. There's another guy. Johnny Walker is also a very tall, long, lanky guy. So you're having that newer generation of guys that are kind of coming up that I think are going to give him a problem. John also, to me, hasn't looked the same since being back from the suspension. Now, I'm not a big fan of John Jones, and because of the cheating, but I simply think that has he been cheating that long that now this is what we're getting the result of? Because we see it a little bit. I've always felt this way. We see it a little bit also with Anderson Silva. Look, I'm not discrediting how athletic these two guys are. There's no doubt John Jones is probably the most athletic guy that's ever stepped foot into that cage. I don't want people at home to think that I'm trying to discredit the fact that he's genetically just an amazing athlete. Look at his two brothers. I mean, you can't say
I asked his dad one time, I said, you just got to tell me, what was in the water at your house?
Yeah, exactly. But then when I relate him to his two brothers, I believe one, I don't think the other one has, but one of them has also popped for steroids also in the NFL.
I think both.
Both now? Okay, so
it might be both.
Yeah, so
I know the older brother did, but I'm not sure. I know Chandler had some problems, but I'm not sure exactly what what it was.
Yeah, I don't want to, but I just know that one of them had been in trouble for PEDs. And anyways, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. Big brother, little brother, friends. Family. You talk. So look, all those things aside, I'm not discrediting the fact that there's no doubt Anderson Silva and him were extremely, extremely athletic. But I think that now what you're seeing with the younger guys that are coming up, you got the Dominick Reyes and you've got Johnny Walker, even Anthony Smith. Huh?
Thiago Santos?
Santos not.
Thiago Santos he's long, he's 6'3". Anthony Smith, like you're saying, he's 6'4".
Yeah.
These are all longer, bigger guys, bigger reach. They can do some things that, guys with a shorter reach, it takes them a lot more work to get to where they need to be.
Yeah, they're gonna have a hard time. I think they're gonna have a hard time with John's athleticism, the way he mixes things up and changes the front thigh kick with the elbows, reaching in with the. He has ways of mixing it up, which makes him so dangerous. But I do think that these guys you're going to start seeing closer fights like we saw with the Santos fight with this younger generation of guys coming up.
Yeah, well, that's just, you of all people know, I was talking, I have my father-in-law's over and he's talking to me about the fights and stuff. And he says, do you think they're going to put together, he was talking about Conor McGregor because he saw a picture of Conor McGregor with the Russian thing and Khabib and him are kind of going back and forth. And I said, it's possible they could end up back. He says, do you think it's ever that Conor can win that fight? I said, oh, absolutely. He can win that fight. I go, you need to understand. It's like percentages. And it's, it's not even 1%. It's, 0.05s. This is a little bit. I said, and all you got to do is make that one little change that creates a different scenario. Khabib can't push the pace on Conor, can't bring him into a certain. I said, absolutely, Conor can win. I go, that's why you fight the fights, and each fight is different. I go, but, it's a matter of can you do it to him? And right now, no one has done that to John, and no one has done that to Khabib, and it's going to take that special fighter to write the blueprint that beats that person. Because if you can go back, I talk about Mirko Cro Cop was just, as we would say, murking everybody when he was in Pride.
Yep.
It was the whole right leg, go to the hospital, left leg, go to the cemetery.
Yep.
Until this guy named Fedor Emelianenko wrote the blueprint on how to beat Mirko at the time. And then all of a sudden, everybody was beating Cro Cop.
Yeah.
Because once people see how it's done, then they can try to emulate that style, that system. But you got to be the guy to do it, and that's not easy. It's like the running of the 4-minute mile. Once Roger Bannister did it quickly, a bunch of other people did it. Yeah. But until such time someone does it, a lot of people up here, they're not sure it can be done.
Yep, I agree. No, I agree. Any other fights on the card?
I thought Jeremy Stephens and Yair Rodriguez put on one hell of a fight. Jeremy showed so much. He got hit by that body kick, and you knew when he went down, it was like, oh, he ain't breathing.
No.
And so he's got to try to fight while he's not breathing, and he makes his way through it and comes back in the fight and wins the third round. My hat off to the little heathen because that dude is just nails tough. He is a stud. He's got no quit in him. And just that in a microcosm for all the people that said, he wanted out of the 15 seconds he had with Yair in the beginning. Take that and stuff that up your ass, okay? Because he just showed how tough he is. He got no quit in him. What a great performance by both guys. Yair was throwing some freaking heat and some just crazy techniques at times that you look and you go, not a whole lot of guys can do what he's doing right now. Yeah. So that was a great fight too, but that's good.
To put it all on the table, I'm not a big fan of Yair Rodriguez. Never really was, and it's more of a when he left the UFC.
Do you have anybody you like? Is there anybody you like? I mean, seriously.
Hater.
Well, I mean, I'm good. I'm good friends with you. We seem to like each other,
which shows you might be lacking in certain areas.
Yeah, this probably, possibly. No, I just, I think because he tried to play hardball with the UFC, and then when he didn't, then he came groveling back. I kind of felt really. I liked him a little bit before that.
Yeah.
But I kind of just lost a little bit of respect for him. And then since then, I've kind of if you win, I don't care. If you lose, it's kind of cool, But no, and not to mention, I'm a huge fan of Jeremy Stephens, and I've always been one. How do you not like the guy? The guy always comes out gunslinging. And I honestly became a really good friend of his one time. We were both cutting weight for a fight for the same time, but he had to get to 45. It was one of his first fights getting to 45. And I was like, man, I don't know how you do it. You're bigger than me. And I was already almost in tears trying to make 55. And this dude's got another 12 pounds to go. And I'm like, no way. You're out of your damn mind. But no, last night I tweeted about it. He's a fucking savage. Everyone knows when you take a body kick like that, The rest of whatever else happens doesn't matter. You just want out. You want to be able to breathe. You want someone to pump oxygen in you as soon as you possibly get kicked. You're like, oh, get it, And he fought through it. I've also there's nothing I could say to tell you how people should understand how miraculous that was. Like, that was awesome to see him fight through it, take some shots. He fought a little bit more, took a couple shots, covered up. Fought a little bit more, covered up. Like, he was doing it in segments, trying to get the leg, couldn't get everything he did during that time. I just was like, dude, I was in awe. I was strictly in awe of that guy and everything he did. And this is why I'm a huge fan of him. 100%. Right. I think of guys that when I sit back and guys that will always be in my mind when I'm done possibly maybe not watching fights anymore or whatever it is Frankie Edgar and the Gray Maynard fights, definitely Jeremy Stephens. I mean, there's just guys that in your mind you remember of the things that they've done in the sport, and you're just like, I'm in awe of them. And I'm like, Frankie Edgar with the Gray Maynard fights, I'm in awe. I go back and I watch those fights, I'm like, this is insane to think that someone could take that much punishment, come back and win the way he did, or come back and have, the performances that he did. Just absolutely throws me off and makes me fans for the rest of their lives, and he's one of them. Jeremy Stephens is one of those guys. And I agree. Always love watching him fight.
I think, no matter what, happened in that fight, Yair walks away with the victory. I think Jeremy picked up just a couple more fans.
You think? Just a couple? All in all, that whole card I thought was actually pretty well. I had ran into Molly McCann in Dublin, and I had never met her before. Little ball of fire. She's just great personality, everything. But I had never seen her fight. I'd seen her fight a long time ago, and I don't recall being kind of overwhelmed, impressed with her. But then last night, I watched her, and I was like, you've gotten a lot better.
Damn!
And I was like, damn, you got some cojones on you, girl. And I just was like, I was very impressed. She came to fight, and she's a gamer.
She just walked forward like, you are nothing to me.
Yep.
I was like, there's nothing you can say. It's a great performance. It was, as you said, big cojones on a very small female fighter. But man, I'll tell you what, she lit her up.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, everything about her was very impressive. I'd like to see what their next step is. I'm excited for her, and like I said, it makes it a lot easier to root for someone after you've met them. You see how great their personality is, and fighters are generally that way. Until I get to meet them and know them, I'm a little like, okay, yeah, you're a good fighter, but I like, when you meet them, you become connected to them automatically. I think that goes for most sports people, right? You meet them, like, oh, okay, I root for you now. But with her, when I met her in Dublin, she was just running around doing everything she could for Leah. What was her name?
Oh, Irish girl?
Yes, Leah.
I want to say McCourt.
McCourt, yeah. So Leah McCourt, she was running around doing whatever she could for her to help her get ready for her fight. And then there she is fighting a couple weeks later. Just awesome, man. Just awesome. I really loved it. Other than that, I think we're going to do some fan questions because you and
couple fan questions here. Let's do it.
Yeah, you're flying out in a little bit, right?
Oh, no. I get to fly out tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
But I have to be somewhere tonight or I'm in deep trouble, so...
You don't gotta tell me.
I'm gonna take producer privileges real quick, #producer privileges, and just ask a quick question about the Paige VanZant situation. So she said that she's been ready to fight for about 4 weeks now, but she's been held hostage. And I wanted to just get you guys' take on what's the UFC's obligation here to get her a fight, and then what's Paige's options if they don't.
Real quick. It's kind of funny how the producer uses his thing to insert Paige VanZant. Right? I mean, it's just kind of funny, right? Anyways, go ahead, John. You want to touch on it because I could give the.
Well, I think this comes back, and you can see this has happened multiple times with fighters and the UFC. Paige has come out saying that she's not going to just sign a new contract.
Yep.
She's going to go out and test the market, see what her value is. And the UFC doesn't like that. And that's understandable. They want things as easy as they can get it, and I can understand that. And she wants to go out and say, I want to see what I'm worth. So many times they have put fighters on the bench and made them wait because they do have to pay them they have to offer them so many fights or pay them if they have not offered them fights. They have to, get 3 fights a year usually is what's on the contract. And if they're not offered the fight, now if they're offered a fight and they turn it down, then it's like, well, you turned it down. We offered it to you. You can't count that as we didn't give you a fight. We tried. You turned it down. So I don't know what's happening as far as has she turned anything down, what they're offering her or anything like that. But if she is turning a fight down, they're just going to let her sit for as long as they can. That's just the way it works.
So this is how it's done, okay? What happens is once you're on your last fight, they try to wait as long as they possibly can to make sure to try to get you to re-sign because they don't want you to go out to Bellator and to one.
No, they don't want you to go
test
through
the free
value.
market agency. You want to know why? Because you will get paid more. And they know that. And then because the UFC puts their fighters into a bracket, we don't care if you're the top 2 or 3 or 5 or 15. We have categories on what you deserve to be paid during that time in your career. You have 6 fights. You're ranked in the top 14. Okay, well, we're going to pay you $52,000, and $52,000. Once you get into the top, 3 or 4, it doesn't matter if you're still in that top 3 or 4 and you're still in that contract, that's what you're getting paid. So what she's trying to do is she's trying to capitalize and make as much money as she can. What the UFC is doing which is very smart, is they're trying to drag her out and to see if she's stupid with her money. Okay. And they're going to force her to take some fights and they're going to say like, hey, if you're done with your money, you run out of money, you're going to come back to us and take whatever we give you. And you're going to try to re-sign right away, and we're going to sign you for 3 more fights. This goes into another topic, which we're going to touch on another time when we have more time. This is a real in-depth conversation. But this goes into why I want people to understand. Fighters that leave the UFC, they don't leave because they think they're getting too old or they're washed up or they're not good anymore. Okay. They leave because they leave for more money. And sometimes they leave because they don't like to be compared to guys when they are a girl. So there's another reason why they leave. So fighters, what the UFC does is they try to paint you into a corner and they try to see if you'll come out from hiding. So you'll fight whoever they put in front of you. And if they offer you a fight and you don't take that fight, it extends your contract for 4 to 6 months. Now, they did that. And I'm going to give you guys for instance. They tried to do that with me after I beat Nate Diaz. They said, hey, we want you to fight. I was supposed to fight Pettis. After I had signed the contract, I was ready to fight. We were a couple weeks away. Pettis pulled out with an injury. Okay. Then they tried to give me somebody I had never heard of, a really tough guy, and I had never heard of him, wasn't ranked in the top 15. And I said, no, I'll give me a top 5 guy and I will fight. Okay. And then they said, well, fine, you can sit on the bench fucking for 6 months. Bob Cook, my manager, told him exactly what I said, Josh is really good with his money. He'll sit out as long as he needs until Pettis is ready to fight. And so then a week later, I got offered the Benson fight. When you let them know up front, hey, I'm good with my money, I have time, and I can sit around and wait as long as I need to wait for the right opponent or the right contract to come along or fight, then they'll generally try to fight you. And with her, they're trying to hold on to her as long as they can. She's still going to test the free market agency. I think there's no doubt about it. And I think once she does, she'll be gone. I don't think she's going to stick around there. Fighters don't like to be down talked by their president. They don't like to be, trashed when they start to lose a fight or they're not considered the king anymore, right? As someone just put out there.
What are you saying?
Yeah. And, and people don't like when the president talks about how you are socially awkward with females and other people just because now you're not winning fights anymore. So, and they wonder why fighters leave. No, they don't leave because they're not good anymore.
Josh, are you saying you don't agree with Dana White?
No, I don't agree with
That's
Dana
what I'm hearing.
But I think that fighters leave outside because for a lot of other reasons outside of just they don't want to fight in the UFC anymore because people think they're not good. And so
people have to understand Dana's got a job.
Yes.
And I understand his job, and his job is to be a promoter. And the thing that cracks me up is people believe that, I'm going to believe what a promoter said. A promoter is going to say what benefits him and his promotion at the time. And then 2 months later, he'll flop 180 degrees and say something else, and that's what promotion is. It's getting you to believe in something, and Dana does a great job at that. But where fighters make the mistake is they confuse, and I was given this line by someone, that was very close to the UFC. You guys can kind of try to figure out who it is. But I was told, John, you need to understand, friendship is friendship and business is business. He goes, but business will always beat friendship. And it just took me, I was like, oh shit, that's a whole different level. I look at things completely different. I would do something for my friend before I would do something business-wise that would hurt them. And fighters need to understand fighting is a business. If you think that your friendship that you think you have with somebody is more important than the business end of this and the money, you're making a huge mistake.
Yeah, it's very strange that happens, that fighters tend to link into thinking and believing that the friendship of, I'll take care of you if you sign this contract.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't happen that way.
No, can't.
We've seen that
as simple as it gets.
Times.
Matt Hughes and Chuck Liddell were going to be taken care of for the rest of their lives. Weren't they?
Yeah.
As long as we're
Very
and I understand where they get away with it, because it was as long as we are in charge of the UFC. As soon as they sold, what happened to Matt Hughes and Chuck Liddell's little contracts? Say goodbye. Gone.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Business is business, and you got to understand it. That's just the way it is. All right, next question. Come on.
Let's go questions.
All right. So the next question is from Ben, and he asks, is there any truth behind the rumor that Mousasi and Lovato 2 is going to happen in Japan in December? Even if it's not true, what are y'all's early thoughts on the rematch?
Go, Josh.
I don't know about any rumors of them fighting in Japan. Maybe you can confirm that. I don't know. It does make sense, though. My personal is that because Mousasi's a star in Japan after all of his past fights. I mean, people love him there. He's a star. It does make sense. Second, as far as the outcome of that next fight, it depends. There's been a lot of talk that Mousasi is going to potentially offer Lovato Jr. to take the what is it called? VADA, which is the
voluntary
amateur, right?
Voluntary anti-doping agency.
And that will kind of, I think, make everything an equal ground if Lovato Jr. decides to go ahead and do it. And I think that will get. I think things were equal the first time. I mean, just a matter of that. I think it'll set everyone's mind at ease, especially Mousasi's, that it was a fair fight.
At least someone can't come out and just say something. If you do it, then it's like, shut your mouth. Here it is. Yep. Boom.
Exactly.
And I like that. And if Gegard challenges him to that, I hope Lovato picks up that gauntlet and runs with it and does it and shows everyone, hey, this is called technical skill, and it's taken me a long time to get this, and I'm good to do whatever you want. So,
yeah, no, I think it's gonna be a great fight. I want to see the fight again.
Yeah, I would love to see the fight again. I thought the fight was fantastic. Mm-hmm. I doubt that it's going to be in Japan, though. Yeah. That Japan card is going to be an expensive card, just with the Fedor and Rampage. Those guys, that's a hefty tab right there, and so. Adding a championship fight on top of it with it, I would really doubt it, but I cannot wait to see that fight.
The only reason why I think maybe that it won't be that possibly could happen is that, from what I understand, the Japanese will be paying for their fighters to fight, not Bellator. So I think the way that the pay is done is that they'll pay for their own fighters' purses, and then Bellator will pay for their fighters. So if they do a good co-main event, which would be Lovato and Mousasi, obviously Bellator would pay both those guys because they're under contract. So if Ryzen is paying their fighters, that would ease some of the pain, I think. I don't
know. It's be awful painful with that main event.
Yeah, that's gonna be an expensive one.
That's an expensive one.
That's gonna be a lot of history in that cage though that night. So
next up, Dave.
All right, next question is, what do you guys think will happen at Bellator's welterweight division after the Grand Prix is over? That's from a Russian person whose name I cannot pronounce.
Okay.
I think there's going to be a lot of activity. First off, Bellator's bringing in some new blood, and they've got a couple of guys, and one is Amazov. That guy's undefeated still, and he's either 21 or 22-0 now.
Yeah.
Undefeated in Bellator. What's that?
Yeah, I think he's 21-0.
And he's a guy that you can look at for the title. Lorenz Larkin coming off of a good win against Koreshkov. He gets another win. He's a guy looking at a chance at that title. And Douglas Lima has already faced him once. Rory has not. So depending upon who ends up being the welterweight champion at the end of the week coming up here, there's a lot of openings there with the Grand Prix. It's taken some of the fighters away, but now that this final fight there's a lot of guys that have been sitting on the sidelines. So I think it opens it up where those guys are going to get a chance, possibly getting a shot at that title, and a lot of good matchups.
Yeah, I think we could potentially see, I don't know if we will, but we could potentially see the dust settle, and we could potentially see John Fitch and Roy McDonald fight again if Roy loses to settle that score of it being a draw. We could see that. I don't think that they will offer John Fitch a rematch if it's a title shot. Just my personal opinion.
I agree.
But if Roy does lose in a 3-round fight, let's see him fight. You know what I mean? And see who can win in the 3-round fight. But I do agree with you. Amazov. Absolutely, just a freak of nature. Yeah. Just
you have
nasty good, just nasty good. So I'm excited. Like the young guys are coming up, but I mean, I think it makes for but it opens the door for the 145-pound World Grand Prix to just slide in there and just take over as far as the welterweight division. We'll see. Let the dust settle. Next.
João Medeiros asks, is Pedro Carvalho going to be the first Portuguese champion of a major MMA organization, and do you see champ material in him?
I don't think he gets past Patricio. I mean, I like him. I think he's tough. I think he's very good. I don't think he gets past.
Very skilled.
I think he's very good. He's good. And the way he handled Sam Cecilia was very smart. He was losing in the first part of the fight, but he just weathered the storm, stayed composed, and then he just
let him throw big bombs.
Picked up the pace and just outworked him towards the end, and then and then was able to get to win the fight. Patricio is a different level, man. Not saying
people have no idea.
Yeah, they don't get it. And I've rolled with him and trained with him here at my gym, and I'm just thinking to myself, wow, you're way better than I thought. Like when I roll, just rolling with you.
He's so strong.
Yeah.
And his jiu-jitsu is actually technically really good.
Yep.
On top, he's super heavy. He's got a freaking squeeze on the guillotine choke that if he gets your neck, you're not going to get it back.
Yeah.
And he's got power in his hands, and he is a guy that I will trade shots with you. I am not afraid to get hit, and I will challenge anybody in this weight class. Go 1-for-1 with me, and I'll take that anytime. And I don't blame him because, man, he's got power and he's got a chin. I mean, I did the fight against Weichel that he got hurt, and he came back and knocked Weichel out. He's got it all.
Yeah.
And, even on the bad days, he's come out on top. And there's not a whole lot of guys that I can see in any place that are going to beat him. And right now, I don't know that Pedro Carvalho has enough experience in those deep waters because this is a 5-round fight. I don't know if he's got enough to deal with Pitbull.
Yeah, nothing to knock him, but just to me, I feel like Patricio is ahead of the game on everybody else in this. He's just got too much experience. The confidence level right now is at the all-time high after knocking out Michael Chandler, and then coming off and then beating Juan Archuleta the way he did. He dominated from beginning to end. He dominated that fight. So yeah, I agree. I don't think he will. He may be champion later on.
Not possible.
Not right now. How much more time you got? 5 minutes? 10 minutes?
Whatever.
8? Okay.
Come on, baby.
All right. Organic Supercomputer asks, hey, who would you match up during their prime, even if they were in different weight classes? Example, Gus versus Mitrione.
Who would I match up in their prime?
Even if they're not in the same weight class.
BJ Penn and Khabib.
That's the same weight class, goddammit.
But it'd be that to me would be the fight. The BJ Penn with the flexibility and just the submit. You take the BJ Penn that fought Carl Uno, Dean Thomas, and those guys, that young buck, or even I would even say even the one that fought Sean Shirk, Kenny Florian, Diego Sanchez. That one, I think it makes for a very, very interesting fight. The ability to the ability to balance on one foot, stuff the takedown. My concern with BJ has always been, and it's always been, is the conditioning. And Khabib,
that's the difference in that fight.
And Khabib has it.
Yep.
But the thing is BJ though, if you watch the Gomi fight, you watch a lot of the other fights in the younger fight, he's got a great blast double. He was physically strong. If he did get him down, taking the back, he saw it with Matt Hughes. He took the back better than anyone, and he got on your back. It's done. I mean, like I could see him getting to Khabib's back and potentially getting the submission that way. Outside of everything else, it'd be a little bit harder. But I just think, to me, and I'm a big BJ Penn homer fan, and I'm a big Khabib fan because I train with him, and but that to me, that's a fight that I would love to see.
I can understand it.
What about you, John?
If I was going to be able to take anybody at any time right now, that's such. I'd already said the one that I always wanted to see was Cain Velasquez against Fedor. I thought that would be just an incredible fight. Yeah. But if I'm going to look at current day right now, if I was to take him one right now in his prime against another, I would love to see Anderson Silva against Michael Venom Page. I think it would just be a fun fight to watch. Now there'd be a lot of antics going on. Yeah. But the way their styles match up and everything, I would really be interested in that fight. It would be fun. But they're at different weight classes too.
Yeah. I agree. I also think the Jose Aldo and Patricio fight would be good.
Well, I would love to see that. I think that's a fight that actually should happen just for like the bragging rights in Brazil.
Yeah. I
would love to see it, but I'm not sure that'll ever happen because I know I think Jose just signed another contract with the UFC, so he'll have to get traded.
Yeah. Next one.
Yep. Josh Vance asks, do you guys think that Adam Boric is going to smoke Caldwell? We all seen in the Pico fight, he stays very patient when a strong wrestler like Pico was holding him down, but he didn't take much damage at all in that fight. And Caldwell is a lay and pray guy, which makes me think it's going to be a boring ass fight, like Caldwell Horiguchi fight.
What do you think, John?
I do not think it's going to be a boring fight. I actually think that's going to be a good fight. I think everything is dependent upon certain skill sets, certain body types, and where someone's strong compared to a previous opponent. We'll say Darion is going to have to change his approach if he's taking somebody to the ground. If he fights Adam Boric and takes him to the ground, he's got to change the entire approach that he's been having in his last couple of fights as far as output and how he attacks him. If he tries to do the same thing with Boric, Boric is going to get him. Boric is young, talented, and he is, as far as a young guy with not that much experience when you're looking at the big realm, but he's got a lot of fights between amateur and pro. But his fight IQ is extremely high. Mm-hmm. And his patience, which is the hardest thing to get a young fighter to be, is patient. He's shown that he's very patient. He's composed. He knows when to explode, when not to. He showed that against Pico. He showed it against Pat when he fought Pat Curran in the first round. This kid is special. He's good. And he's going to give Caldwell hell in that fight.
Yeah, he's going to make Darian Caldwell work so hard. Darian's going to get tired probably at the end of the first round versus the second and the third like he normally does. I think. And
this is a 5-round fight.
And not to mention that Darian at 135 was always the biggest guy. Now he's just an average size guy. Boric is huge. He's tall, long, lanky. And when you talk to the guys at his camp, they all talk about how fast he is despite what people think. They're like, he's fast. And I remind you guys, he trains with Michael Johnson. He trains with Kamaru Usman. He trains with Saul Rogers. He trains with guys that are fast, and they've all
Michael Chandler said, oh my God, he's fast. And Chandler's fast.
And Chandler's pretty explosive and fast as
Yep.
well. So, yeah, to me, I feel that as long as he makes Darian work in the first 2 rounds, I think the fight ends up kind of being an easier fight for him. If he does what Henry Corrales does and just stands on the outside and just kind of tries to land one big shot, Darian can do that all day. I think Darian can just, and so I don't think it's going to be a boring fight at all. I think Borix is not the type of guy to try and make it a boring fight. He's going to try to take the fight right to him. And if he does that, he's going to make Darian work really hard, and Darian's going to get tired.
I've watched all of Adam's fights. I haven't seen one that's boring. He's been explosive in every one of them. There's moments where you might not be like, well, I want more. Yeah. Okay, you can't be going full speed in a fight the whole time. He's very smart, very patient, and he hasn't been in any boring fights, and I don't expect this one to be one either.
All right, my man. Well, we're going to wrap this up.
Sounds good.
All right. And, we are headed to Connecticut this week. We will be doing 2 podcasts while we're out there with Jordan out there. So we're going to do that. And we'll drop them probably on one. We're going to film Wednesday, drop one on Thursday, the day before the Friday fight, drop the other one on Friday for the Saturday fight. We have 2 fights in Connecticut at Mohegan Sun. You guys make sure you guys tune in. 2 shows. Sorry, 2 shows, not 2 fights.
I wish it was 2 fights. I could do a whole lot less prep.
Right. So, all right, my man. Well, hey, you have a good time tonight. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will touch base again soon, and I will see you in Connecticut, my man.
Sounds good, brother.
Pleasure. Talk to you soon.
Later.
Bye.